Long ago, Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, warned humanity about a trial that would be greater than any other trial the world would ever face. This trial would appear near the end of time. It would be a test not only of strength, but of faith, understanding, and truth. The Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, spoke about a figure known as Dajjal, often called the Great Deceiver. He warned his companions that from the time of Prophet Adam, peace be upon him, until the day of judgment, there would be no trial greater than the trial of Dajjal. These words made the companions very attentive. They listened carefully every time the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, mentioned this warning. One of the companions, Abu Huraira, may Allah be pleased with him, narrated many teachings about this great trial. He explained that the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, wanted believers to be prepared. Not with weapons or strength, but with knowledge and faith. Because the greatest danger of Dajjal would not be his power. It would be his deception. The Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, described Dajjal as a man who would appear during a time when the world is full of chaos, confusion, and hardship. People will be struggling. Many will feel lost. Many will be searching for someone who can solve their problems. And in that moment of weakness, Dajjal will appear. He will speak confidently. He will claim to have great power. Some narrations describe that he will travel across the world quickly, spreading his deception. Many people will follow him. Not because they are evil, but because they will believe what they see. The Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, warned that Dajjal will perform things that appear like miracles. He may show people what looks like rain falling from the sky. He may show land becoming green and fertile. Some people will believe that he has control over nature. But the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, reminded his companions that these things will only be a test. Because Dajjal will try to convince people that he has the power of God. This is the greatest deception. The Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, also described a physical sign so that believers would recognize him. He said that Dajjal would have one eye that is damaged. His other eye would appear like a floating grape. This description was meant to remind believers that Dajjal is not perfect. He is not divine. He is only a human being who spreads deception. The Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, also taught that believers should protect themselves from this trial. One of the ways he mentioned was through faith and understanding. Another narration from Abu Huraira, may Allah be pleased with him, explains that the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, encouraged believers to remember certain verses from the Quran. Especially the beginning verses of Surah Al-Kahf. These verses remind believers about truth, patience, and faith during difficult trials. The companions listened carefully to these teachings. Sometimes they asked the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, questions. They wanted to understand how such a trial could affect humanity. The Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, explained that when Dajjal appears, he will try to confuse people's understanding of reality. Some things that appear good will actually be harmful. Some things that appear frightening will actually protect believers. For example, some narrations explain that Dajjal may show something that looks like paradise. But in reality it will be punishment. And he may show something that looks like fire. But in reality it may be safety. This is why the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, warned that people must not rely only on what they see. They must rely on faith and wisdom. Because deception often looks convincing. Throughout history, people have always been influenced by powerful leaders or strong voices. But the trial of Dajjal will be greater than anything humanity has ever experienced. That is why the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, spoke about it many times. He wanted believers to remember. He wanted them to be aware. He wanted them to stay firm in their faith. The companions understood that these warnings were extremely important. They repeated these teachings and shared them with others. Over generations, scholars continued to discuss these narrations. Some focused on the physical description of Dajjal. Others focused on the deeper lesson behind the warning. Because the story of Dajjal is not only about a single person. It is also a reminder about deception in general. Sometimes falsehood appears attractive. Sometimes lies appear powerful. But truth remains steady. The Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, reminded believers that faith must be stronger than illusion. He taught them that even during the greatest trials, those who remain patient and aware will find protection. And according to many teachings, when the trial of Dajjal reaches its peak, another great event will occur. A return that many prophets spoke about long before. The return of Prophet Isa, peace be upon him. But that part of the story comes later. Because the trial of Dajjal itself will first spread across the world, testing the hearts of humanity in ways never seen before. After Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, warned his companions about the coming of Dajjal, the companions became very concerned. They wanted to understand more about this great trial. They asked questions. They listened carefully. And they tried to remember every word of the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him. One day the companions asked him something important. How long will Dajjal remain on the earth? The Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, answered that Dajjal would remain for 40 days. But these 40 days would not be like normal days. The first day would feel as long as an entire year. The second day would feel like a month. The third day would feel like a week. And the remaining days would pass like normal days. This description amazed the companions. They asked another question. How will people pray during such long days? The Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, replied that believers should estimate the time for their prayers and continue their worship. This answer showed that even during the greatest trials, faith and worship must remain strong. The Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, then described how Dajjal would travel across the world. He said that Dajjal would move very quickly. Like clouds driven by powerful winds. City after city would hear about him. Many people would go to see him. Some out of curiosity. Some out of desperation. And some because they already believed his claims. The Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, warned that Dajjal would try to convince people that he possesses divine power. He will show things that appear miraculous. He will command the sky to bring rain. He will command the earth to produce crops. People who follow him may experience wealth and comfort. But those who reject him may face hardship. This is part of the great test. Because many people will follow him simply for worldly benefit. They will see food, wealth, and power. And they will believe that these things prove his authority. But the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, reminded the believers that these signs are only part of the deception. Dajjal will attempt to control people's minds through fear and temptation. Some narrations mention that he will even appear to bring someone back to life. But these events will only be tricks meant to confuse people. The Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, warned the companions not to be fooled by appearances. Because truth is not measured by power or wealth. Truth is measured by faith and guidance. There is also something very important that the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, mentioned. He said that there are two cities that Dajjal will not be able to enter. These cities are Mecca and Medina. According to the narrations, angels will guard these cities. Every road leading into them will be protected. When Dajjal tries to approach, he will be unable to enter. This protection will be a sign for believers. The Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, also described how some people will resist the deception. Not everyone will follow Dajjal. There will be believers who recognize the truth. They will remain firm in their faith even when the world around them becomes confused. Some narrations describe a brave believer who will confront Dajjal directly. This believer will stand before him and declare that he is the deceiver that the Prophet warned about. Dajjal will attempt to punish him. But even this moment will become a sign for the people watching. Because true faith cannot be destroyed by deception. The companions listened carefully to all of these warnings. They understood that the trial of Dajjal would not simply be a physical battle. It would be a battle of belief. A battle of understanding. A battle between truth and illusion. Throughout history, many scholars have reflected on these teachings. They explain that the story of Dajjal reminds believers to remain cautious. Not every powerful voice speaks the truth. Not every miracle is real. And not every promise of wealth leads to goodness. Sometimes deception appears beautiful. Sometimes falsehood appears strong. But truth remains steady for those who seek it sincerely. The Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, encouraged believers to strengthen their faith long before such trials appear. Because when the heart is firm, deception loses its power. And when knowledge is strong, confusion becomes weaker. But the story of Dajjal does not end with deception spreading across the earth. Because according to the teachings of the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, when the trial reaches its most intense moment, something extraordinary will happen. A moment that believers have awaited for generations. At that time, Prophet Isa, peace be upon him, will return. And with his return, the greatest deception will finally come to an end. As the trial of Dajjal spreads across the world, confusion will grow among the people. Many will be unsure of what to believe. Some will follow Dajjal because they see power and miracles. Others will follow him because they fear losing food, safety, or wealth. But there will also be believers who remember the warnings of Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him. They will remember the teachings that were passed down through generations. They will remember that the greatest weapon against deception is faith and understanding. According to many narrations, the world during this time will be filled with uncertainty. Some regions will experience hardship. Food may become scarce. Communities may become divided. And during these difficult times, Dajjal will appear offering what seems like solutions. He will promise prosperity. He will promise safety. He will promise power. But behind those promises will be the greatest deception humanity has ever faced. The Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, warned that believers must remain patient during these trials. They must not rush toward every voice that promises easy answers. Because deception often appears strongest when people are desperate. Among the believers who resist Dajjal, there will be individuals of great courage. Some narrations describe a young believer who will confront Dajjal directly. This young man will recognize the truth immediately. He will remember the teachings of the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him. He will stand before Dajjal and declare to the people that this man is the deceiver that was warned about. Dajjal will become furious. He will attempt to prove his power by harming this believer. According to the narrations, he may even attempt to kill him and then appear to bring him back to life. Many people watching will be shocked. They will believe they are witnessing a miracle. But the young believer will remain firm. After witnessing the deception with his own eyes, his faith will only become stronger. He will declare again that Dajjal is the false deceiver. This moment will become a powerful sign for the believers who are watching. It will remind them that faith cannot be destroyed by illusion. It will remind them that truth remains strong even when deception appears powerful. During this time, groups of believers will gather together. They will support one another. They will remind each other of the teachings of the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him. Many scholars have said that remembering the verses of Surah Al-Kahf will provide spiritual protection during this time. These verses remind believers about patience, trials, and the importance of truth. They teach that worldly power does not determine who is right. Instead, true success belongs to those who remain faithful and sincere. While the world struggles with confusion, another important event will begin to unfold. Far from the chaos created by Dajjal, a moment long awaited by believers will occur. Prophet Isa, peace be upon him, will return to the earth. According to Islamic teachings, Prophet Isa, peace be upon him, was not killed but was raised by God. And near the end of time, he will return once again. His return will not be quiet. It will be a moment filled with hope for those who remained patient during the trials. The Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, described that Prophet Isa, peace be upon him, will descend from the heavens. He will appear near the eastern side of Damascus. He will be wearing garments lightly colored with saffron. His hands will rest upon the wings of angels as he descends. When believers see him, they will recognize him. Their hearts will be filled with relief, because they will know that the time of deception is coming to an end. Prophet Isa, peace be upon him, will not come as a new prophet bringing a new message. Instead, he will come as a follower of the message of Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him. He will restore justice. He will remove falsehood. And he will guide people back toward truth. At that time, believers will gather around him. Together they will move to confront the deception of Dajjal. But when Dajjal sees Prophet Isa, peace be upon him, something remarkable will happen. The narrations explain that Dajjal will begin to weaken. Just as salt dissolves in water, the presence of truth will cause deception to lose its strength. Dajjal will attempt to flee. He will try to escape the moment that he sees Prophet Isa, peace be upon him. But his time will have already come to an end. According to the narrations, Prophet Isa, peace be upon him, will pursue him. The confrontation will not last long, because deception can never survive when truth appears clearly. Eventually, Dajjal will be defeated. The great trial that once terrified humanity will finally come to an end. Peace will begin to return to the earth. Communities will slowly rebuild. People will remember the lessons of the trial. They will remember how easily deception can spread when faith becomes weak. They will remember how patience and knowledge protected those who remained firm. The story of Dajjal carries a powerful lesson that reaches beyond a single moment in history. It reminds people that truth must always be protected. It reminds people that power and miracles alone do not prove righteousness. And it reminds believers that faith must remain strong even during the most confusing times. Because throughout history, deception has often appeared in different forms. But those who seek knowledge, remain patient, and hold firmly to truth will always find their way through even the greatest trials.